Well, hello, this is Pastor Thomas Gross of Living Faith Christian Fellowship. And today, this has been on my heart for a long time. I have this real burden and concern for people who are confused with their genders. It's a real burden, a real burden. I'm very, very, very concerned about you because I know that you're going through a lot of turmoil on the inside. And it is hard for you to deal with what you are feeling. I know that. So, first of all, I want to say this that what I'm about to say is not medical, psychiatric, or psychological advice, nor is it medical, psychiatric, or psychological therapy, nor is it in any way being presented to replace those measures. This, however, is a spiritual and it is a biblical answer and understanding from God that can be found in the scriptures. And of course, what I am sharing with you can easily be used in conjunction with whatever medical, psychiatric, or psychological measures that you choose. Just want you to understand that. But I'd like to ask this question. Does any of this, the following statements, apply to you? And I've got this long list, and I have to go on both sides of the list. For example, are you saying, hey, I am confused about my gender? I am dissatisfied with being a male. Or I am dissatisfied with being a female. And by the way, that's the meaning of the word dysphoria. How about, I hate being a male? Or I hate being a female? Or I don't want to be a male? Or I don't want to be a female? Or I am disappointed that I am not a male? Or I am disappointed that I am not a female? How about, I wish I was a male? Or how about, I wish I was a female? And then there's this one. Well, I think that I am a male in a female's body. On the other hand, there's one who says, I think that I am a female in a male's body. Then I'd like to ask, maybe you're a parent and you have a child with those issues. In every one of those statements that I just made, there is an acknowledgement of truth. Let's go back over the list. I am confused about my gender. So what are you confused about? In essence, your gender is definitely something. And whatever you're confused about, it is in line and it refers to your gender. See, I'm dissatisfied with being a male. So there is an acknowledgement of truth. You are male. I am dissatisfied with being a female. There is an acknowledgement of truth that you are female. I hate being a male. Here we go. An acknowledgement. You are male. I hate being a female. There's an acknowledgement. You are female. I don't want to be a male. There's an acknowledgement. You are a male. I don't want to be a female. Here we go again. There's an acknowledgement. You are a female. I'm disappointed that I am not a female. So what do we have? We have an acknowledgement that you are a male. Or I am disappointed then that I am female. So then, or that I'm not a female rather. So then there is an acknowledgement then that you're male. You see? And I think I said that right, and I'll say it again just for the record. I'm disappointed that I'm not a male. So then there is an acknowledgement of truth that you are female. Or how about, I wish I was a male? Again, there's an acknowledgement that you're female. Or I wish I was female. There's an acknowledgement that you are male. And then, of course, there is that I am a male trapped in a female body. The acknowledgement is that you're female. Or I am a female trapped in a male's body. There's an acknowledgement that you are male. See, in every one of those statements, there is an acknowledgement of truth. And that's what you have to understand. And the truth is, again, if you're male, then your basic chromosomal makeup is XY. If you're male. Again, if you're male, your basic chromosomal makeup is XY. On the other hand, if you're female, then your basic chromosomal makeup is that of being female. You know what? You start off as a little boy, you're going to grow secondary male characteristics over time because your cells are going to do that. Your cells are not saying, I think I'm female. No, your cells are saying, I'm male and I'm going to do what male cells do. And if you're female and you're a little girl, in time, you are going to develop secondary female characteristics that lead into adulthood. Same as with male. They lead into adulthood. And they lead into other areas of function, of body function. And your cells are not saying, I think that I'm male. No, your cells are going to do exactly what female cells do. You see? So I want you to understand something. Your brain runs either a male body, and if it runs a male body, it's going to run a male body the way it runs a male body. And if your brain is, if you are female, then your brain is going to run a female body the way the brain runs a female body. The hormones that are released are going to be either, if you're male, the testosterone, and if you're female, estrogen. That's what they do because you are in truth. We're talking about the truth now. We're not talking about fantasy. We're not talking about your thoughts, but we're talking about truth. See, you are what you are, and you are what your body says you are, not what your thoughts say that you are. So if that's the case, then it's evident that your thoughts can be easily manipulated to think wrong and to reason wrong. That's what's happening to you. So here's a question, what's happening in your thought processes? Now, I want you to understand I'm speaking from a spiritual perspective. This isn't medical. You're not going to get this in medical school. You're not going to get this in psychology classes, okay, and psychiatric classes. You're not going to get this, what I'm telling you in those classes, in those places. But you will get this from the Bible. Here's what's happening in your thought processes. Are you ready? A lie has invaded your mind. I'll say it again. A lie has invaded your mind. If you're saying, I have a male brain but a female body, a lie has invaded your mind because your male brain is going to develop you as a male and into a man. You see, and if you say, I have a female brain, okay, in a male body, you see, or if you say, I have a male brain and a female body, either way you do it, the male brain is going to develop the male into a male body, and the female brain is going to develop the female into a female body. That's the way your brain works. And you know that. And medical science knows that. That's why they have the hormone blockers, because they're trying to stop your brain from doing what it does. See, that's the whole point of that medical procedure. But what you're trying to do is line up your body with your thoughts. That's what you're trying to do. And again, even though you're saying what you're saying, somehow your thoughts acknowledge the truth. And even a lie acknowledges the truth. Here's the lie. I am a boy trapped in a girl's body. Where's the lie? I am a boy. You're not a boy trapped in a girl's body. You're a girl whose thoughts have been manipulated by a lie. Or a male who might say, well, I'm a girl trapped in a male's body. See, again, your thoughts have been hijacked by a lie. So, see, here's the truth. Here's another truth. And this is what the Bible agrees with. God only made two types, male and female. You go to the book of Genesis. It says he made them male and female. He only made two people. He only made two people. He made them male and female. So the lie that has invaded you is that somehow you are the opposite gender trapped within a body that is not representative of what is seen outside. And you don't know how to rid yourself of that thought. And that's the thing that overwhelms you. That's the thing that troubles you. That's the thing that disturbs you. See? And if you had parents, if there's a child happening to be listening to me, sometimes your parents don't understand these things. I'm a parent who does understand them. And I was I was bent on raising my men to be men, or my boys to be men, and my girls to be women, because I understand these things. Some parents don't understand these things, so they buy into another lie. And this lie is that you will harm yourself if you don't change your gender. But if you change your gender, you won't harm yourself. Well, that's kind of a lie too, because there are many who change their gender who still harm themselves, because after a while they have a change of heart. And then they realize this is irreversible and they can't back up. But here, let me give you another truth. You cannot change your gender. I know they're trying to define gender and sex in some new way to justify all of these lies. I know that. But that's the whole point of the redefinition. And everybody has, and this is proof that there's another lie, because some people say that there's maybe 20 genders, and somebody else might say there's 50 genders, and someone else might say there's 100 genders, and someone else might say there's 120 genders. You see, that tells you that it's not true, because there's no consensus on these extra genders. There is a consensus, however, in the Bible. The Bible says he made them male and female. As a matter of fact, Jesus came along and repeated that. He made them male and female. And for you to say that there are more genders, then you are calling Jesus a lie. That's exactly what you're doing. Now, I'm just going to warn you, if you start talking about taking hormones and then later on surgeries, to alter your body, okay, that's a destructive decision. It is a physically destructive decision. It really is. Now, some people think they're going to be happy when they do it. You see, if they want to do that, I can't stop them. But I will tell you, however, if you take that route, God is not going to be happy. That's the truth. Look, I'm not hating on anybody. What I'm doing is warning. You see, God is not going to be pleased at all. because he made you one thing. And you're saying, God, you didn't do a good job. I want to be something else. So you have to understand that God made you a certain way for a certain purpose. So if he made you male, he made you male for a purpose. If he made you female, he made you female for a purpose. See? And it was not to uh, put you down or to create a problem for you. It was for you to be blessed. Let me tell you something about the male side of the surgery. Let me tell you something about the male side of the surgery. This is a truth. You know, there are people who will force someone sexually. There are men who will go out and force someone sexually. He may force, you know, some of them will force boys, some of them he force men. He may force girls, he may force a woman. You see, and we have a word for that. You know the word RAPE. You know the word. You see, um, and that's a crime. It's a horrible crime. You have people who are repeat offenders who go, they're serial uh, forcers. I'm going to say forcers because I know YouTube might have a problem with. I don't understand YouTube. Don't have a problem with the F word, the MF word, the S word, the A word, all these other words that are out there, but they have a problem with words that describe things. You see, that happen. You know, they're not profane words, not a foul word. It's just something that happens. If you can't talk about it, if you can't talk about it, then you're actually helping to exacerbate the problem. If you can't use the word, you see, then you are making the problem worse because somebody's not going to learn. All right, and it's not going to be good. So that's not a good practice. See? But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm talking about: forcing someone to be sexual with you when you are not wanting that. But there are men who would do that on a regular basis. They become serial. They're called basically serial rapists. That's what they're called. And you know what? There was a punishment that was kind of thrown around, okay, for that kind of behavior. And you know what that punishment was? It was castration. Okay? If you can't control yourself and if you're going to force these people to do what you want them to do immorally and against their will, we are going to cut off your members. Yeah, we're going to cut off your sexual members so you can't do that anymore. And that was considered, that was something that was under consideration to stop these people from doing that. And you know what other people did? They called that cruel and unusual punishment. Cruel and unusual punishment to cut off a man's member, his private parts, all of them, everything, and leave him with nothing down there. And they called it cruel and unusual punishment. So then what they did was they opted instead for what they call chemical castration, where they give them hormones in order to shut off their desires and perhaps keep the rest of society safe from their antics. Cruel and unusual punishment. And now, are you telling me that you want boys to undergo what has been called and considered cruel and unusual punishment to try to get his mind right? So you're going to give him cruel and unusual punishment physically to help him get his mind right. You think about that. See? And you know what? You're a sexual being, and that's a part of you as well. And when you start messing with those things, you are destroying that. You are destroying that. So what you are actually doing here is creating a situation that will probably depress you even more in the future and probably make you further down. That's why a lot of them, despite the surgery, commit suicide anyway. Despite the treatments, commit suicide anyway, because they realize I made a mistake and it's irreversible. I can't go back. You know what? Your body's not made for all of these hormonal chemicals that are thrust upon you that your body wasn't made for. See, the female body wasn't made for testosterone. The male body was not made for estrogen, not on a regular basis, not to be flushed with it. It just wasn't made for that. I'm going to tell you, if you want healing, to be healed mentally, to be healed emotionally, you have to get rid of the lie. You know why? Because lies are tools of the enemy. That's what lies are. They're tools of the enemy. You know, in St. John chapter 8, verse number 44, and you can go there yourself. I'm not in my usual studio place, so I can't post the scripture on the screen for you at this time. But in St. John chapter 8, number 44, Jesus was talking to a group of religious people, by the way, people who did not believe in him, and that was their problem. They didn't believe that he was the Messiah that God had promised to send into the world. So he told them, you are of your father, the devil. Now, here's why he told them that. He says, because you want to do the deeds of your father. From the beginning, he was a murderer. And, you know, that's, and they were thinking about murdering him. So that's a deed of the devil. And so he called them, basically, he's letting them know that you're following the impulses of the devil. Now watch this. Then he said, when he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own nature, because he is a liar and the father of it. The devil is a liar, and he is the one who originated the lie. He is the one who created the lie. So when you believe a lie, you are basically believing a creation of the devil. See, lies come from the devil. Now, his lies are meant to deceive and to destroy. Satan wants to destroy all of us if he can with lies. That's the whole purpose of lying, to deceive and to mislead for whatever purpose that deception and misleading is taking you. See, so I want you to understand that. So St. John chapter 14, verse number 6 teaches us something different. See, basically, St. John 8, verse 44 is teaching us that the devil is a liar. Well, St. John 14, verse 6 teaches us that Jesus is the truth. See, Jesus said, I am the way. This he's talking about himself. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. So if you want to be healed, first of all, you have to get rid of the lies. Second of all, you have to accept the truth. You know, accept the truth. Accept the truth. I am a male in a girl's body is not the truth. How about I am a confused male. Well, what did I just say a moment ago? Because see, I'm not. I'm going so fast. So let me start over. I am a male in a girl's body. What you are is a confused girl in a girl's body. I am a girl, you know, in a male's body. You see, no, what you are a confused male in a male's body. See, that's what you have to understand. You're confused. You're confused. And the lie has confused you because the lie has deceived you. So you know what? To get rid of lies, you have to receive truth. You start by receiving Jesus. Jesus is the truth. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So ask Jesus Christ to come into your heart. Yeah, he will come. You know what? God loves confused people. I want you to know that. He loves confused people. Yeah. Mhm. He loves dissatisfied people. He loves depressed people. And he wants to come in and to help you to overcome that. He loves people who have been lied to. Matter of fact, he loves the people who lies. Yep, he loves the people who deceives. He loves the people who steals. He loves the people who murders. It doesn't matter he loves them because he came to save them. He came to change them. He came to turn them around. So that's why you need to ask Jesus to come in your life and help you to deal with that lie that you're grappling with, that you are something other than what you are physically. And then here's another truth, third truth that I'd love for you to understand. This is found in Psalms chapter 139, verses 13 and 14. King David said these words, for you formed my inward parts. And I'm reading from the NASB Bible, the 1995 version. You formed my inward parts. Listen to that. God says that David acknowledged the truth. God formed my inward parts. Everything that's inside, everything that's outside, God formed. Yes, he formed the outward, he formed the inward. You wove me, you made me in my mother's womb. And in verse 14, he says, I will give thanks to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Fearfully means reverently. God took his time and he made you from a place of reverence and respect. If he made you female, he made you a female from a place of reverence and respect. If he made you male, he made you male from a place of reverence and respect. Then he goes on to say, he says, I am fearfully, reverently, and wonderfully, that is marvelously and extraordinarily made. Marvelous, wonderfully. See, fearfully, that's reverently, and wonderfully, marvelously, and extraordinarily. I am marvelously and extraordinarily made. He says, wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it well. And that's what you're not seeing. Why don't you think about it? You're healthy. You are healthy. You are very, very, very healthy. Now, here's a practice that will help you to overcome those lies and cause gender anxiety and uh, dissatisfaction to leave you. Here's an exercise that will help you to get past gender anxiety, get past gender dissatisfaction, get past gender depression, right? And you know what it is? It's called two words. Be thankful. Be thankful. You know, think about it. You could have been born with a deformity. You could have been born without a hand. Or you could have been born without an eye. Or you could have been born without legs. You know, I know that someone will say, well, then how are they fearfully and wonderfully made? You know, they are. They are. Defects happen, you see. But then on the other hand, you know, there's a young man by the name of what's his first name? I think his last name is Vucevic, if I'm not mistaken, Vucevic. And this young man, the minister of the gospel, you know what? He's living in thankfulness. His issue is this: he's got no arms and no legs. He goes places and he speaks, and they put him up on a table so you can see him. And they have to put him up there. You see, but you know what? He has a beautiful wife. He has children, and he is thankful. That's what happens when you become thankful. Here's a man with no arms and no legs, and he's running around and he's being thankful. And there's some of us with arms and legs and eyes, everything that we need, and we're having a conniption fit because we're not something else. Now, come on. See, you could have been born with a deformity, but you're perfectly healthy. So be thankful. Be thankful. You know, we have a lot of problems in life. You can end up with something, some disease, debilitating disease, heart disease, cancer, diabetes. Kidney failure. You can end up with some debilitating problem. You see, but you're not. If you're not having that problem, you have a lot to be thankful for. If you're a male, you're a boy, and you're healthy, then be thankful to be alive and healthy. If you are a girl, you're female, girl, be thankful to be alive and healthy. It's important that you be thankful. I mean, come on. I'm African American. What's our history like in the United States? What's our history like? Yeah, discrimination, racism, you had to fight through. And I was growing up during the time when I heard these words. Black people are dumb. Black people are stupid. White people are smarter than blacks. Blacks can't do anything better than whites can do. I heard all that foolishness when I was a child. Now imagine hearing that growing up. How would that affect you? You know what? It didn't bother me a bit because I didn't let it. I would hear people say, well, white people are smarter than black people. The dumbest white person should be smarter than the smartest black person. I heard all that. What I'm saying is what I heard. I didn't make those things up. I just want you to understand that. I didn't make those statements up. But you know what? You know what I said when I was a child? I said, yeah, I'll show you. That's what I said. I'll show you. Okay, yeah, we'll find out. That's how I felt. I could have fallen apart and been down in the dumps. Oh, I wish I wasn't black. I wish I was born white. See, I could have said the same. I could have, if I wanted to. And you know what? That gave me a reason. Those things gave me a reason. But you know what? I was too thankful to be who I was, to be concerned about what people were saying. And I am thankful about who I am, to be too concerned about anything else. So I'm going to tell you these three things. I'll just give you three of those things. I told you, these are lies. These are lies in your thoughts. Lies have invaded your thoughts, and that's what's disturbing you, because lies are from the devil, and anything from the devil is not going to be comfortable. So I'm not giving you any medical advice, but I'm giving you spiritual stuff here. Number one, accept the truth of who you are. Number two, ask Jesus into your life and ask him to help you deal with the lie of what you are not. And number three, be thankful for who you are, because you were marvelously and extraordinarily made who you are and what you are by God. So that's what I would tell you to do. Oh, and see, one other thing. If you transition like that, if you take that step in transitioning, here's the problem. You're not going to simply solve one problem. You are going to create a whole slew of other problems. That's guaranteed. So you won't just be solving one problem. Instead, you're going to create a whole mess of other problems. I promise you, it's a whole lot easier to simply accept who you are physically and how God made you physically and leave it there. And if you come to Jesus and then learn to be thankful, you will overcome. And you know what? You will look back in the future and you'll be glad